Isn't it exciting back there?
Oh, it is. It's because you could just feel the celebrity and the talent that's been back there.
Yeah.
We made sure we sat in every single room and met people that there wasn't any big time celebrities there, but it was I enjoyed the whole show business,
Yeah.
everything. It was fun and watching from the curtain and then going
Uh-huh.
out to the audience. I loved the whole thing. It was so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I on occasion will take friends, visitors from out of town backstage. We
Mhm.
did it this past weekend, as a matter of fact, and it was funny because we did the backstage area with the dressing rooms and the green room and the artist entrance, and we got to that side stage area.
Mhm.
And they looked out and they saw the stage, and as the curtain went up, you could see their eyes
Like, oh,
widen, and it was like, "Oh my gosh!"
this is
And
real. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
then you're
that's
like, excuse me, I got to go announce.
yeah, that's when you suddenly realize I got a pretty
I'm
cool
kind of
gig.
good. Yeah. I'm Kelly Orchard, author, traveler, licensed psychotherapist, and radio veteran. And this is the most recent Radio Is Not Dead with my guest, Mike Terry, who is the announcer for WSM, which is the Grand Ole Opry radio station. Grand Ole Opry is celebrating 100 years. And this has been the broadcast station for the Grand Ole Opry for 100 years. So it was a thrill for me to run into him. It was definitely a serendipitous encounter. And this is a video that we recorded together. We didn't actually do the radio station interview. It wasn't planned. It was completely unplanned. It was a Kismet meeting, serendipitous encounter. And then we decided that we wanted to have continued conversations because we had a interest in Boss Radio together. So this is one of 3 videos. I edited the video so that we could stay on topic with all of the things that we talked about. So there's going to be 3 videos, and this is one of the 3 videos with Mike Terry talking about his career in broadcast and my trip to the Grand Ole Opry. This will be the first one because the idea of the Radio Is Not Dead came out of the novel that I wrote, which is called Dead Air. So it's more of a play on words.
Yeah.
But it was like, I'm just going to be out here traveling in my RV anyway, so I need a purpose. So why not, while I'm out traveling, hook up with a local radio station and go visit them and do a little podcast about
Yeah.
the operating local radio stations.
Wow.
And now and this one was a total like serendipitous encounter to run into you leaving the Grand Ole Opry at the end of a show. It just couldn't have planned that if I tried.
But it works both ways because, like I said, you and I connected on a radio level,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and then with your dad, but KHJ, legendary KHJ, back in the day when we were swapping air checks around
Right.
and
Yeah.
listening to Robert W. Morgan
Yeah.
and those guys.
It was fun for me. My friend Dave, we knew each other in Victorville. That's how that whole connection came.
Yeah.
He was a public relations for the police department out there when my family had the radio station. So we saw each other at a lot of events. He left 30 some years ago to actually manage a country band, and he did that for 3 years and then ended up in hospitality. And
Yeah.
so here I was in Kentucky and I'm like, I want to go to Nashville. So I reached out to him, hadn't seen him in 30 years. And so
Yeah.
he made all these arrangements for all of these things for us to do. And the Grand Ole Opry was a thing where his friend is one of the square dancers.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we came on Saturday night because his friend could get us backstage passes, which
Yeah.
was the coolest gift ever. Who gets to do that like on a random trip like that?
Yeah.
And
But
so
isn't it isn't it exciting back there?
Oh, it is. It's because you could just feel the celebrity and the talent that's been back there.
Yeah.
We made sure we sat in every single room and met people that there wasn't any big time celebrities there, but I enjoyed the whole show business,
Yeah.
everything. It was fun and watching from the curtain and then going out
Uh-huh.
to the audience. I loved the whole thing. It was so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife and I on occasion will take friends, visitors from out of town backstage. We
Mhm.
did it this past weekend, as a matter of fact, and it was funny because we did the backstage area with the dressing rooms and the green room and the artist entrance, and we got to that side stage area,
Mhm.
and they looked out and they saw the stage, and as the curtain went up, you could see their eyes
Like, oh,
widen, and it was like, "Oh my gosh!"
this is
And
real. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
then you're
that's
like, excuse me, I got to go announce.
yeah, that's when you suddenly realize I got a pretty
I'm
cool
kind
gig.
of good. Yeah. I know. I was all excited that we just was like, I took a picture of myself underneath the Grand Ole Opry sign on the stage. We managed
Mm,
to be able to sneak back there long enough to be able to do that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and then even telling the story about how I met you. Like I tell people, yeah, I've been telling people, it's like, you are not going to believe, because my podcast is called Kismet Adventures and Serendipitous Encounters.
Oh,
And
nice.
it could not have been more serendipitous for us to just run into each other as we're both just leaving the backstage area. And so I'm
Yeah.
sharing that with whoever I'm sharing it with. And then he says, "You want to see the station?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do. It's 10 o'clock at night and we're touring a radio station, going in through all the back gates of the Grand Ole Opry and like cutting through the whole theater. And
Yeah.
he owns the place." It's like, I'm sorry, but that was a very cool experience for me. You do have a very cool gig.
But we just talked about it. To me, it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
Even though we're talking radio, like
Yeah.
radio geeks, it was just an afterthought because,
Yeah.
well, okay, it's
Yeah.
the Acuff house. It's where Roy
Right.
Acuff used to live. That's where the station is now. It's just where they've got computers and consoles and a big studio. I don't know. Are you interested? Like I
Well,
said, he
tell me
just,
more about the Roy Acuff because you gave us that story in while you were giving us the tour,
yeah.
but I was trying to explain it to somebody else and I didn't have all the details correct.
Okay. For anyone who doesn't know Roy Acuff, do a Google search. Roy Acuff was a huge country music star in the 40s, 50s, 60s. He was the patriarch of the Grand Ole Opry. He was the embodiment of the Grand Ole Opry. If you think about Opry and legendary performers, Roy Acuff, Minnie Pearl, they're like the two biggest. He had dressing room number one, which is another story. But when he got into his later years and he was single, I guess his wife had passed, the Opry built a house literally right beside the Grand Ole Opry house. He could walk out. It was what, 200, 300, 100 yards maybe from the front door over to the Opry house. And at that point, there was a big amusement park. It's a shopping mall now, but it was an amusement park. And Mr. Roy could literally go out and sit on a bench in front of his house and talk to visitors who were there at the amusement park. Or he could walk over to do the show at the Opry and then walk home. He didn't have to worry about driving at night. When Mr. Roy died, the house, it's become several things. It housed offices for a while. It was an executive office building. The garage was a conference room at one time. And here, I guess it was a little over a year ago, I think it was July of last year, WSM, which has been carrying the Grand Ole Opry for 100 years now, moved from the big hotel, which we were set up in, over to Roy Acuff's house. And the main on-air control room is now in what used to be his living room. And there's a big picture window that looks out onto the plaza so you can walk by and you can look in. There's a display in I guess it was his dining room. I got to go back and look. But there's a historic display for the radio station with old equipment and a beacon light off the tower and things like that in there. And then downstairs in the garage, we've got a production area. So, yeah, his house is now literally the home of WSM Radio.
You said so it's only been there a year and a half or so. You that's
About that, I
pretty
think it was,
cool.
yeah, July of last year, I think is when we moved. We used to be in the Opryland Hotel, and we were in an area with a big picture window, and people could walk by and look and see. And I can remember years ago, I was getting off the air and I walked down, I'm walking by the big picture window and I'm behind these two guys who were guests in the hotel. And one of them looked over and goes, "Hey, look at that. Hotel's got its own little radio station." And I wanted to grab this guy and say, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, don't
So,
you get
yeah,
it?
yeah. So some do and some don't. And that's the
Yeah.
cool thing.
Yeah, that and I do find that about it about radio is that a lot of people still think it's very glamorous and some
Yeah,
people just shrug their shoulders like, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like
yeah.
very polarized. Yeah. When you're emceeing the actual show at the Grand Ole Opry, that's
Yes,
like the only real time that you're live. Is that
yes,
accurate?
yes,
Yeah. And do
yes.
you ever, is it so scripted that you have the
No.
opportunity to ad lib?
No, and it depends a lot on the audience.
Uh-huh.
You've probably been around long enough to know that
Yeah.
some audiences they just sit there on their hands and
Yeah.
others get involved.
Get
And
involved.
I love it when an audience gets involved
Right.
and yells out. And I'll be
Yeah.
doing a giveaway. It happened last night. I was doing a boot giveaway or something. And I said, and our winner is in section 17. And somebody yells, yeah. And just you don't even hesitate. You say, let me finish. And so you get that interaction a lot.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only real live work I
That
get
you're
to
doing.
do anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so different also because you're on a stage and
Hmm.
people actually see it. It's a completely different live experience for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not like sitting in a studio where you're live on the air. You're
Yeah.
standing up in front of an audience and
Yes.
probably a big country star standing right behind you.
Yes.
You
Yes. In
know?
many cases. Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah, I
true.
mean that's a you got to admit, Mike, that's a one of a kind experience.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. And I mentioned that we had friends this past weekend. It's situations like that I find myself. I've talked to other guys, even people on the crew, who go every now and then something will happen and you go, I've got a
A
really
really
cool
cool
job.
job.
Saturday night, Trisha Yearwood was on stage because she just
Mhm.
released a new album. And it's very cool because before she goes out, you're standing side stage and you're just talking and then you go out and you introduce her and the crowd goes crazy.
And you realize this is big.
This
Yeah.
is she's a star. Wow. And then the curtain comes down and she comes walking over and says, that was okay. What are you guys doing tomorrow? You know,
Yeah.
you just like you're out grocery shop.
Mhm.
And you have to pinch yourself every now and then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love Trisha Yearwood. I wish she would have been there the night I was there.
Sorry.
It happens. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Where did you get your start at?
Very first job was in a tiny town in Virginia, about 60 miles south of Richmond, Crewe, Virginia.
Crew,
Between
Virginia.
Crewe, Virginia, there's an E on the end, Crewe, between the thriving metropolises of Blackstone and Burkeville,
Oh,
Virginia.
wow.
I was there for a year. It was a great education, both for a 19-year-old kid just leaving home and moving to the deep south. It was a culture shock, a little bit of a culture shock,
Where
but
were you from?
Baltimore.
From Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would be a huge culture shock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a change for sure. But it was the first time live on the radio and
Really?
or doing automation. I mentioned the automation. It was funny. I, I worked from like 5 to midnight during the week, and I was automated from 7 to midnight. So I was in the building doing odds and ends while I was on the air live, while I was on the air. And I could never figure out why if I'm here, why am I not on the air live? Why we got the automation running? The
Yeah.
manager at the time loved the automation.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess that was it. But yeah,
Yeah.
Crewe, Virginia is where it all started.
All right. And so you were there for a year and so then where'd you go after that?
Oh, um, all right. Let me Crewe, Virginia to Stanton, Virginia, where I worked with a guy who was doing boss radio type work. That's where we were talking earlier about the winning score, that production package. That's where I heard the winning score. And we were doing country radio, but it was more of a boss jock style. It was energy, constantly going. The music never stopped. Into spot sets, out, and he wouldn't call them spots, stop sets. He called them spot sets. But we had energy going in, we had energy coming out. If we were hitting the news at the top of the hour, we were back time to the second, walking in. It was fun, creative contests and stuff. But yeah, Stanton, Virginia, for a couple of years, up to Frederick, Maryland, for a short time, Charlottesville, Virginia, Charlottesville to Charleston, West Virginia, for a very short period of time, Norfolk, Virginia, Norfolk, Norfolk to Charlotte. Charlotte about 17 years, and then Charlotte over here in '02 in Nashville. So
Wow.
yeah,
All on the air, right?
yes, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
there were a couple of stints in there. Charlotte primarily. I also was production director over there, so it was the dual duties for a while. But yeah, a lot of it air work. I if I had to choose one, it would probably have been production because I
Yeah.
just loved doing production.
Yeah. Do you get to do any of it now, or is it all just voiceover work?
It's all voiceover work. I used to do freelance stuff, but no, I'm not really doing much of anything these days. And computers make it easier, but I don't think they make it any more fun. Some of
Oh,
the challenge goes away.
yeah. So how did you end up in Nashville? What brought you there? And now
I
you're
was
the voice of the Grand Ole Opry. That's a cool gig.
It's a very cool gig, and it
Yeah.
comes down to right place, right time, and a
Right.
hell of a lot of luck. I said I was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte, the station I was working at, WSOC, hired a program director who had been a program director over here. He had one time had worked for WSM FM. He was in Charlotte for a year and a half, and SM asked him to come back and try to turn the FM around. It wasn't doing well at the time. And he came back to Nashville, and I got word indirectly that he wanted me to come over. I think there was a clause when he left that you can't poach people. So there was a third person involved. And he flew me over and we did an interview. I'd never been to Nashville. I really knew little, if anything, about the Grand Ole Opry, but he flew me over and we talked and just made me a great offer. And I came over. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, they sold the station. I got fired.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was because I was on the FM, bounced around a little bit here in town, ended up back on the AM, part-time, then full-time. And then one of the full-time announcers at the Opry retired, and I just happened to be the next guy in line. You want to do it? Okay. All right. How about Friday night? Oh, yeah, fine. And it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't ceremonial or anything. It was just, you're the next guy. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, just pull you out from the curtain, basically. You're up. How
Yeah,
do you think?
next.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And it's been fun and it's been what, 18 years now. So yeah, I'm finally starting to enjoy it. I
Yeah.
don't.
So is it just Saturday? Because okay, so you said I knew nothing about Nashville. Me
Yeah.
too. So I hail from Southern California. I
Hmm.
don't think I've ever been to Nashville. You hear of Nashville, you
Yeah.
know of Nashville, but I didn't know either. Even some of the history of the Grand Ole Opry, I
Yeah.
wasn't really familiar with, and I almost felt ashamed of that
Uh-huh.
as I'm there. But so you've been there now 18 years. And is it just the Saturday Night Live broadcast that you do now? Is that or
Primarily, that's my regular gig, so to
right?
speak. But there are four of us, and when necessary, vacations and stuff, we rotate. I worked this weekend, I worked Saturday, and then I worked Sunday. I worked last night, this being a Monday as we're talking. I'll be working tomorrow night, and then I'll be back on Saturday. So it depends, but for the most part, Saturday is my
Your
regular night.
your regular night.
Yeah,
So you've probably met obviously tons of country artists. Are you one
yeah.
of those like you make sure you get a picture with every single one of them, or are you kind of like over that now?
It's funny because I am way on the other side of that. I just don't.
Yeah,
And maybe it's because, and I'm sure you can relate to this. We've been doing this so long
yeah,
that it's hard to get starstruck.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Ringo played the Opry a couple of months ago,
right.
and when the schedule was announced, it was going to be he was playing on a Friday night. When I got the email that here's the schedule, we got Ringo. The first thing I did was reached out to Kelly Sutton, who was scheduled to work that show, and I said, "May I please
No,
work the,
my
well,
work that way.
you have no idea. I grew up
I
with
will-
Beatles." And she
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I
yeah,
don't
whatever.
care.
It was about Ringo. Yeah,
So
yeah,
occasionally, but no, for the most part, the
yeah.
starstruck thing is just not there.
Yeah. But it's a whole different experience when you're the one announcing them and giving a little background on them when you introduce them.
Yeah.
It's almost like you said, you're like beyond I need a photograph to prove that I was here with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You and I are lucky. We're living in that age now where if I really need to impress somebody, I can say, just pull up YouTube, search Grand Ole Opry Mike
You'll
Terry.
feed me. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
something will be there. Um,
Like I said, it's like I wasn't aware of who you are. So even if you are a
yeah,
big time, I was like, I'm not starstruck because to me, you're just another radio guy who we connected over Boss Radio. And that's
exactly,
pretty much it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my family keeps me humble because none of them listen.
Mm,
They don't care. My kids grew up around it. It's not a big deal. And for the most part, it's radio.
yeah.
So 99% of the people have no idea what you look like.
Yeah.
So I joke, I said, I get my ego stroked just enough, especially at the Opry, to feel like a star for
Mhm.
15, 20 minutes. and then I leave the building and I can resume my
Yeah.
normal day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So I get the
Yeah.
best of both worlds in that
Yeah.
respect.
So you say you do voice work for other stations too?
I do, yeah, and unfortunately, or fortunately, again, double-edged sword, middays here in Nashville on WSM, they're voice tracked. I'll go
Hmm.
in first thing in the morning and get that taken care of. And
Hmm.
then I'm on Sirius XM. There's actually an hour or two where I overlap in the morning. I do 6 a.m. to noon Eastern on Prime Country on Sirius XM, and Saturday afternoon I do Willie's Roadhouse. That's the classic, the Waylon and Willie and Conway and Loretta stuff. I'm literally
Yeah.
somewhere on the radio 7 days a week.
7 days a week. And are you
Yeah.
always Mike Terry, or do you have other names
Yeah.
you use? Yeah.
Nope. Nope. Never came up with never had an air name.
Yeah.
I figured if I did it, I wanted credit for it.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
okay.
Mike, I really am glad to connect with you, and thank you so much for chatting with me. I love talking radio with people.
Thank you for the invitation. This is fun. I hope
Yeah,
we stay in touch.
I
I'm enjoying
absolutely,
this.
absolutely. I would love to talk radio with you anytime. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Radio is Not Dead and my serendipitous encounter with Mike Terry, the announcer of the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday nights. As you can see from his career, he has a very extensive, long career in broadcast, and I was really thrilled to run into him and make his acquaintance and actually become a friend. And he's going to read my book, Dead Air, The Day the Music Died. Thanks for joining me. There are more videos to come, so if you like what you see, I'd really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share, and make a comment and tell me what you might want to see, because I'm hitting the road once again as we continue with Radio is Not Dead and Kelly Orchard's Kismet Adventures and Serendipitous Encounters. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.